Hello everyone. Lost in Space is finally back on December 1st, 2021. A lot of time has passed since Season 1 dropped in April 2018, and Season 2 December 24, 2019, so we have a recap to get you ready for Season 3. If you haven't watched Season 1 and 2 yet, be warned that there are spoilers ahead. It's the year 2044. An alien species is headed to Earth, but the government instead tells people a comet is headed their way and gives it a clever name, the Christmas star. The alien craft crashes into Earth, creating the Christmas star incident and contaminating the Earth's atmosphere. The Earth can no longer support human life because there's no sunlight and the air is filled with debris. Meanwhile, the government has found new technology from the alien spacecraft and enlisted Dr. Maureen Robinson, Molly Parker, to help them create spacecrafts for intergalactic travel. Once the project is complete, resulting in the Resolute mothership and Jupiter spacecrafts, Dr. Robinson, her family, and other colonists will go to Alpha Centauri to make a new start. Maureen has been separated from her husband, John Robinson, Toby Stevens, a dedicated military man. Maureen wants permission to take their children, Penny, Mina Sunwall, Judy, Taylor Russell, and Will, Maxwell Jenkins, but John decides to join his family on their voyage to the New World. In 2046, the colonists embark on their journey to Alpha Centauri, but the stolen alien FTL drive that powers the Resolute has been discovered by the aliens, and they want it back. The robot infiltrates the Resolute to recover the drive, and the crew hides the invasion from the colonists, telling them to board their Jupiter crafts and wait for the issue to pass. While this is happening, a criminal stowaway, June Harris, Parker Posey, steals the identity of Dr. Zachary Smith, a family therapist. Dr. Smith commandeers Jupiter 18 as the Robinsons head for Jupiter 2. The Resolute malfunctions and everyone is taken to an unknown region of space where the Jupiters crash on a nearby planet. Jupiter 2 lands on the icy side of the planet and the ship sinks, so the Robinsons have to figure out a way to salvage the ship. Plus, Judy gets trapped below the surface. It's a race against the clock to save her. Will's the one to figure out there's magnesium on the planet that can melt the ice to save Judy. John goes with Will to the magnesium cave where Will falls through the ice into a forested area. He meets the robot which has crash-landed on the mystery planet as well. With a forest fire about to destroy both of them, Will helps the damaged robot, and it saves Will. John returns to his family with some magnesium, but it's not enough to save Judy. Just when they think she's about to run out of oxygen, Will shows up with the robot, and the robot frees Judy. The robot keeps the family warm overnight and helps them recover the Jupiter 2 the next day. John and Maureen head out to examine the robot's spacecraft when a shrapnel storm kicks up. Penny heads out to find her parents, and as they're heading back to the Jupiter 2, they find Dr. Smith, aka June. It turns out that June survived the crash along with Don West, Ignacio Sericchio. When they find an injured pilot, Angela, June convinces Don to stay behind while she goes for help. But June actually abandons them. Don finds refuge with the Jupiter 11 and its crew. The survivors of the Jupiters start contacting each other, and learn that the attack on the Resolute was caused by the robot. Around the same time, the mental link between Will and the robot reveals what actually happened. Will commands the robot to never hurt another human and hides the robot in a cave until he's ready to tell his dad what really happened. June orchestrates an attack on the surviving colonists that forces Will to disable the robot's pacifist commands. The robot saves everyone, but now the camp knows the truth about the Resolute. When Will realizes the robot is a potential threat, he commands it to throw itself over a cliff. But of course, June is there to pick up the pieces and rebuild the robot to serve her. Maureen discovers that the planet they're on has reached its life cycle and they need to get everyone away ASAP. She and John try to keep this info to themselves, until they can figure out a plan. Don attempts to salvage fuel from one of the downed spacecraft, and Judy goes along with him. It doesn't go as planned. Maureen and John decide to send Jupiter 4 to the Resolute with John and Don in it, and as Maureen is helping launch them into space, June knocks her out. Don has discovered she's a fraud, but it looks like he and John are space dust because the Jupiter 4 explodes. Nearly consumed by sadness after losing his dad, Will discovers an alternate fuel source, concentrated biomatter, aka poop. And it's enough to get them back into space. Maureen is stuck helping June restore the robot. The robot's back and now loyal to June, and then June forces Maureen to launch Jupiter 2 into space. While all this is happening, John has sent a signal that he and Don are alive, so Maureen manages to lock June and the robot out for a bit so she can map a plan to rescue John. That's when another robot shows up and all hell breaks loose. When it looks like this new robot is about to kill Will, the robot remembers his bond with Will and saves the kid's life. The robot fights against the other robot, and they are hurtled into space. The ship's hatch needs to be manually closed and only Will can do it, but he loses his grip and floats away. Luckily, John is on his way back via harpoon and rescues Will along the way. There's a Robinson family reunion and June is quarantined, but not before learning that she fired the harpoon that rescued John. The season ends with the FTL drive coming back to life and bonding with the ship's navigation system, opening a portal to another galaxy. This is the danger that the robot warned Will about, and they're now lost in a dangerous binary star system. The Season 2 final begins with Will and Adler, who successfully reach the planet that has the technology to save scarecrowed robo-life. However, Ben Adler appears to sacrifice himself in the process, dying in a planetary storm. On the bright side, he does thank Will for reminding him of who he used to be. Meanwhile, back on the Resolute spacecraft, Judy, Taylor Russell, and Penny Robinson, Mina Sunwall, end up hiding their parents for a bit, then they work to free Will's robot from Hastings. John ends up fighting numerous guards but receives valuable assistance from Don West, Ignacio Sericchio. They do save the robot and encounter Dr. Smith, June Harris, Parker Posey, who claim she tried to stop Hastings. Shortly after this, Will and other colonists show up, despite Hastings trying to strand them, and Scarecrow is in much better shape. At first, it seems Will's robot refuses to take people to Alpha Centauri out of stubbornness. However, it's revealed that a bunch of additional robots are in nearby spaceships, which is a source of danger. The humans decide to use the alien robot engine as bait for these robots, knowing it is their prime directive when they arrive, and they do arrive. There's also a mini-debate between Will and his parents. Will, one of the chief moralists in Lost in Space, doesn't want to kill the robots. His parents, on the other hand, seem casual about the whole affair. There are added technical difficulties, too, such as how the alien robots jam cameras on the Resolute by their mere presence. Fortunately, the humans, under Maureen's guidance, craft a plan to use some electronic pulse which semi-freezes the alien robots in place. However, there are massive fleets of additional alien robot ships underway, so the humans have to act fast. Also, the aliens can move at a very slow pace and are trying to unplug the electronic pulse, slowing them down. Where does this Lost in Space episode get its title? It's determined that the Resolute's 97 children should be saved and sent to the Alpha Centauri colony. Judy initiates the mission as captain, and they use a spare Jupiter equipped with the alien engine, piloted by Will's robot. At first, Dr. Smith seemed like she would jeopardize the mission, wanting to leave with just herself and the robot. However, there is ultimately a surprise sacrifice on her part. As the children board the Jupiter transport, Dr. Smith dons a spacesuit and enters the room with the robot invaders, doing her best to prevent them from unplugging the pulse. She apparently dies in the process, stating beforehand to Maureen that the Robinsons are the closest to anyone who cared about her. In a surprise moment, one of the strange robots somehow recognizes Will. Though it appears to relent in its attack at first, it eventually charges up its blaster. Fortunately, Scarecrow actually intervenes, saving Will's life and proving itself. Things are still deadly, however. John and Maureen recognize the need to destroy the Resolute as others flee in their own Jupiters. It gives Maureen a chance to mention the craziness of the sci-fi trope, the self-destruct sequence. They decide a crash is best. Moments before they'd meet their demise in a fireball, Don West shows up to save them again. The 97 children escape through a space rift without their parents, meaning that, yes, they are still lost in space. However, Judy notices a radar signal of human origin and determines it's from the Fortuna spacecraft, which was commanded by Grant Kelly, her biological father. In other words, season the 3rd of May have at least one new character.